Boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. My name is Rob Keating and I'm here to help you navigate the wall of information that is the stock market. Firstly, to the good news, a week ago, after the tech sell-off on Friday the 22nd of April, I was looking at why these companies, the Chinese ones, hadn't fallen as much as the rest of them. They'd stayed high during the sell-off, and I made a video about this on Tuesday, but I identified half a dozen companies here, JD.com, Seiko Holdings, DD, NetEase, Pinduoduo, and Beidou, and I made a video about this Excel sheet and how it works. It's the percentage of 52-week high versus the amount of pullback on the Friday. Friday the 22nd was the day the S&P was down. These 15 stocks here were the only companies which were actually up. Everything else was down. In this context, we're saying patterns mean prediction. Now, the Nasdaq 100 yesterday, these companies here, the ones I was looking at a week ago, Pinduoduo, JD, NetEase, and Beidou, were all up. Some of them were up quite significantly. Now, for reference, yesterday, Friday the 29th, was the day that Amazon slumped after poor earnings. So if we look at these 6 companies over the last 5 days on the US exchange here, we've got Beidou, DD, JD, NetEase, Pinduoduo, and Seiko Holding. If we look at the chart on the right hand side, we can see over 5 days they're up 10%, 5%, 17%, 9%, 25%, and then 1%. Now that is some fantastic news for the channel. And then if we look at the other sides, now these are the Chinese tech companies which are listed in the US, but this is on the Hong Kong exchange. So this actually has different performance. If we look at it from yesterday, we're saying Beidou was up 17%, JD was up 31%, and NetEase was up 14.93%, so 15%. So how did I identify these companies? It was the companies on the Nasdaq that remained high during the sell-off, which had a high percentage of their 52-week high and low, meaning they weren't at the bottom of their 52-week cycle. This shows there's something underlying going on which is keeping those companies up. And this week it's been revealed that, at least I think, this is what was up. China's leaders pledged support for economy, including tech companies. Now this week there was a meeting. China is scheduled to have a symposium with the country's big tech firms on the heels of the Politburo meeting on Friday, raising hopes that Beijing will stop its sweeping regulatory clampdown on the tech sector, giving internet platforms large roles to help prop up the ailing economy. So what we're saying is there's something in China which was helping these companies remain high on Friday, and now we can see the results which have come through a week later. So again, fantastic news for the channel. What we're saying here is patterns mean predictions. If you can identify things that are going on in reality, that is the world outside, you can understand what happens when these things get referenced, when these things get brought into the markets. The share prices move higher and lower. That's how we make money. Now, in the last video, I was talking about the cycle of all transportation companies through to banks and how what's going on in the world is going to help banks make more money. But unfortunately, with the sell-off yesterday, where everything was down, the companies I identified, especially Bank of America, was down 3.7%. So we'll leave that a week or two, see where we are. But from what I'm seeing, I think something's going to happen in that space and cycle through to these companies. And the good news is, in the banking sector, this company here, Standard Chartered PLC, were up 10% after beating earnings. Will this pull those stocks higher? It's unlikely, but if they're making money somewhere, then there's room for other companies to make something there too and to beat future earnings. Now, what I did notice when I was putting this video together, that this thing I did last week where I identified the 52-week high and low based on the percentage of the pullback on Friday and then Monday, is that these companies here, passenger transportation, more specifically China Eastern Airlines Corp and China Southern Airlines Corp, which was 70% and 75% of their 52-week high, also performed well during the week. So here I'm thinking there could be something there in the future. So if I look here at Chinese transportation listed on the Hong Kong exchange, you can see here China Eastern Airlines at the top. First is the Hong Kong exchange, the second one down is the New York exchange. They move in a similar sort of pattern, but going down, China Railway, China Southern Airlines, and down at the bottom, Orient Overseas International. A lot of these are up during the week. So if I see what's happening in China, this is Chinese companies, Chinese transportations listed on the Chinese exchange. You can see they were all up yesterday. Unfortunately, the 5-day chart isn't available. So if I pull back and look at these Chinese companies listed on the New York Stock Exchange, as I was doing earlier in the week, we're saying here there's been some pretty big gains across the boards. Some of our tech companies are in there. Auto Home, 17.45% over the last 5 days. And if I go down to the bottom, down to China Eastern Airlines, we can see, okay, it's up 3%. But this company here, China Liberal Education Holdings Limited. Now this was actually on my list last week, the one of the 52-week high and low thing. If I look at it here, I'm saying China Liberal Education's holding, miscellaneous education service providers. The sector dropped significantly on Friday, but this one remained at 32% of its 52-week high, falling in total 18.43 over the Friday and the Monday. So you can see how different patterns and different ways of thinking can lead to different outcomes over time, which is why I call this process follow the yellow brick road, that is navigating facts and figures and pieces of information to get to joy, happiness and success. In the news this week, there was something about Generation Z and spending. Generation Z has strong cultural confidence, Chinese popular culture. Generation Z began their career, they are increasingly becoming the backbone of consumption and they account for about 1/5 of total in China. Now, if Generation Z are up, then the first thing to think of is luxury retail. Now, if you look at my luxury retail list here, sorted by the price change today, you can see Prada is at the top. Now, companies like Prada, Hugo Boss, Burberry, they're all quite heavy on China's growing economy and a demand from that country. So when things happen in that country, these stocks tend to perform. But as you can see from the list, generally there's been a rise from all the companies yesterday. And the reason for bringing this up is when China's doing well, these companies tend to perform. This article is from April the 15th, 2021, so about a year ago now. China says its economy grew 18.3 in the first quarter of 2021. We've got a little graph here to represent the GDP after coronavirus and the bounce back. What tends to happen is higher end retail tends to rise with what's going on in China. So here I've got Hugo Boss, which you can see rises through 2021, similar to the pattern with China Q1. And then the same with Burberry as well. Yesterday, one of the only stocks that was up was this company called Honeywell. Multinational conglomerate company, aerospace, building technology, performance materials, higher end industrial spend. So we're saying when this company does well, rich people get richer and higher end companies like Hugo Boss, Prada, Burberry become more valuable because they spend more in those stores. So again, you can see how these patterns lead to predictions which lead to positive outcomes. Now, if we go back to all the companies I've looked at so far since starting this channel, some are up, some are down. The chart on the right hand side, the little line is actually 1 month. So you can see some are doing okay. The Recession trade, CNX is flat, Ferrari is up, which is good. The news in yesterday was that America's S&P suffers its worst April in 52 years. A historically bad month deepens the index losses for the year. So what we're saying is starting a YouTube channel about the stock market in April 2022 wasn't a very good idea at all, but some of them are up. Now, if we look at the sectors here, which is from the same article from The Economist, it says here, now this is something you've got to be aware of. The headline says worst April in 52 years, but then it shows you a chart for the whole of 2022. So energy at the bottom is up, 35% almost. However, if we look at energy just for the month, as indicated by this chart here, energy is actually flat for the month. So again, be careful what you're reading because it can all be taken out of context and be put together in a way that just doesn't help you in any way, shape or form. Even the first company I identified, CNX, which I think was on the 5th of April, is now down 1%. So I'm sad. Over the last 3 or 4 weeks, it's been a good start to the channel, but there is a long way to go. Now, I do want to update you on Ferrari. I made a video about the value of Ferrari and how it's correlated to the Formula One, and was saying that if Ferrari win this year, the value of the company will go up. Now, there was a race last weekend in Imola, and Ferrari did not win. The Red Bulls actually dominated. And then there was Ferrari recalling more than 2,000 cars in China over braking issues. However, the share price that day only went down 3.5%. So the Ferrari thing is still open for me. If something doesn't happen in the next few weeks, I would pull out of that if I were you. Now, my company here, Wolfspeed, the one that's accelerating the transition of silicon to silicon carbide, which I linked to TE Connectivity here, is down 19.45% in a month. Bad news for the channel. And Empresas La Pola, that's the Chilean retail company, which are correlated to the price of lithium and activity in Chile based on the banks, telecommunications, shopping centres, and something else. Again, that's down. That was pretty far out there. So reflecting on what's happened, moving forwards, I can now build my map of the stock market to keep things going forward. If I look at the IPSA, which is the Chilean stock market over 1 month, we can see that generally speaking, everything is down. We can say I was just too late for this whole Chilean lithium mining trade thing, which is unfortunate, but as always, stay tuned for more. Thank you for watching. That is the end of today's Yellow Brick Road. Like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you in the next one.
See the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz.